What's good, y'all? It's your boy Chris, also known as the Creative Chip. In today's video, I'll be doing an edit breakdown of my Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee tribute photo. This style of video is something that I really wanted to revisit. I think the last time I did something like this was around a year ago, and the video was of the Red Ranger pulling the sword from the stone. Funny enough, a few of you kind of reached out to and hinted at the idea of bringing this style of video back. So it's a win-win, and I'm super excited to kind of dive into the edit and explain my thought process. Before I dive into the actual breakdown, I have to put this disclaimer out. What I'm about to show y'all, I'm not saying that this is the route that y'all need to go. This is just the things I did to create this specific photo. But if you are able to pull something away from this and apply it to your next photo, that's great. Or if you're like, what the heck is this guy doing? That's also great, because it's good to question things, and I'm not trying to say I know everything. Let's dive into it. The concept of the photo is Bruce and Brandon Lee are sitting together in this serene environment, and they are playing chess. The reason why I picked chess is because it's such a strategic and classic board game that has a lot to do with thinking and being mindful of the possible moves that your opponent can make. Being that Bruce is this fantastic martial artist and fantastic philosopher as well, and he passed that knowledge down to his kids, I just felt like it was a fitting scenario and could result in a great, beautiful image. So in order to create this one singular shot, I had to take 3 separate photos. The first photo is of Bruce by himself in this serene environment playing chess. And as you can see, this is a simple setup, nothing crazy as far as lighting goes. I composed it to be pretty simple. The chessboard is right in the center. Yeah, that's the first shot. The second shot that I took is of Brandon Lee as Eric Draven from The Crow, and he's facing the opposite direction, but in the same lighting conditions. And then the third shot is of a crow kind of just in the sky, or just chilling, I should say. A crow by himself. Wasn't sure if I was going to actually add it to the photo, so I just took it just in case. The reason being that I had to take 3 different photos is the 2 figures are at different scales. So this Bruce Lee figure is a Bandai Tamashii Nation figure, and it stands around 5 inches. And this Eric Draven Brandon Lee figure is a Diamond Slick figure. He stands around 7 inches. So I basically am going to have to erase everything and scale him down to a size that feels realistic to the Bruce Lee figure. What I did was grab the handy dandy erase tool, brush thing. So what you honestly could do as well, and I've done this in the past too, is use the pen tool and kind of trace it out and erase everything. What I found myself doing whenever I did do that was I eventually ended up using the erase brush tool to clean it up. I just decided to erase everything with the eraser tool. And I know it may take a little bit longer, but I am honestly not tripping. So what I did was erase tool and just kind of went ham and just erased and zoomed in and blah, 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 erased even more, to the point where I eventually reached to something like this. And it is of Eric Draven, Brandon Lee, by himself. And his original scale was around this size. So when I had it over the main image of Bruce by himself, you can clearly see that there's this weird difference in size. So just hit that Command T, scaled it down a little, and like I said, to a point where it felt realistic. And at this point, what I did was combined these 2 photos together and made it a smart object. And basically that just puts the photos together and makes it one singular photo. Once I had that one singular photo, I had to erase everything again for this photo. I had to erase this background because I kind of wanted to put in my own sky eventually. So I kind of messed up what I'm basically trying to say. So what I did was erase everything again. Same tool. You know, at this point too, you could just be listening to music, kind of vibe out, and just enjoying your time. Once I did all of that, I eventually ended up with this right here. What I tend to do with my photos is I'll start to play with the colors just to get an idea of the route that I want to go. Originally, the photo of them two together is very tight and up close. So in order to get that one shot of them like this, I had to scale them a little bit further out to kind of make it seem like you're walking past someone from a distance and you just happen to see two gents playing chess. And what I also did was I used the clone tool and added just clone this greenery around it to create it so that it seemed like they were surrounded just by this beautiful field grass looking thingy majiggy. I got at Michael's, and it's basically fake moss, and in this setup I just kind of surrounded the chessboard with that fake green moss. We're kind of getting somewhere. We are in a realm where I'm starting to feel the vibes and getting stoked because already it's just a powerful image. In order to create the sky, I went to solid color. You know, this is where you can kind of pick an array and just figure out what exact color fits the tone of a sky that you want to go with. And I just went with this color, a blue sky. Who would have thought? But as you can see, it has that Photoshop look. It's just doesn't feel, it just ain't there yet. So what I did next to create that feeling of a sky being there is clouds. So I have a cool array of brush tools that I pull from. I have a fog brush, and that fog brush is something I use a lot to create that cool atmosphere. In a lot of my photos, got smoke. But yeah, for the clouds, I have a cloud brush. And the funny thing about editing photos and videos is sometimes things accidentally just seem to work out. And as you can see, there's a lot of headspace. And as I was randomly placing clouds, there was no strategic, like, I'm going to put cloud right here because of this and cloud there because of that. I was just like, let's just fill it up, this empty space. I happened to leave like an area right in the middle. And I was like, I need to add something. So I decided to add the sun. And the sun right there may not make sense, and logically, just like the light source, where it should, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes with photos like this, it's less about logic and just what feels right. So I put the sun there just because I was like, man, that feels good. I'm eventually like, yeah, let's add the crow. So the same concept with the crow, I had to eventually trace everything out and erase it, and I ended up with the crow. Should I add more crows and kind of have a flock on Brandon's side, or should I just add, a couple more, a handful more, one more? And I eventually just added one more. I know we were talking about the logic of stuff, and with this photo, it's like I threw logic away. But for the crows, as you can see, they're kind of like blurred out. And one thing that I really do like kind of keep in mind and kind of look at with any kind of photo is like depth of field. Like, so it's cool to have like everything in focus. I'm all for it. But with this shot, I was like, it wouldn't make sense to have this background area blurred out and not blur out the crows in the background. So what I did was I went to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then from there kind of like try to figure out what seemed realistic, and I just applied that. And for the second one in the background, I kind of did the same concept, but then for the opacity, kind of like made it a little bit more faint, not 0%, just around like 57, because I wanted to make it seem like it's way more in the distance. It's just coming to life, and it's finding its story. The next thing that I did was the sun's in the background, but then we have the crow who's like this. It seems like the sun has no effect on the crow. So what I did was I wanted to add a little glow to it, and I just used the brush tool right here and had my opacity around like 25%. Just clicked on that on the sun a little bit just to create a nice little glow. And then I was still like, this left wing of the crow didn't feel like it was actually being lit up by the sun that much. Like, I don't want it to be too overexposed, but I wanted it to seem like the crow was there, obviously, and being affected by the sun. So I just added a little bit more on that left side that felt more real. Even though Brandon and Bruce are in the center, I wanted your eyes to even be more focused just on them two. So what I did was kind of created like a vignette that like the area surrounding them two was a little darker, but they still were more lit. And as you can see, it's still not that pleasant to look at as far as like color grading goes. So this is where the fun begins for me. In the last video that I did, I talked about using solid colors, and I do that with all my photos now. So as you can see, I was very indecisive with the color choices. But I started off with like an orange because I knew I wanted to go with a warmer tone. So I put a solid color of orange over the image, and I was like, oh, this is very, like, it looks cool. It has like a cool, like, Tim Burton, low saturation kind of vibe, but that's not the look I was going for. So I threw in a nice little red hue overlay, and it made the slightest difference. I added this, like, what color would you call this? Yeah, I'm going to say dark mustard yellow. That's what I called it. When I saw this color, I was like, okay, we are getting somewhere. Like the warmth is starting to show up a little bit. It's not too intense, but it's enough to be like, that's vibey. We should do like a vibe count. I said vibe so many times. I hit it with this color. It's like a red orange, and I have like this aqua blue, and I threw it in just to see what it would do, and it was on lighter color at a 4%. So such a minute percentage, but still effective. And I came out with this photo, and then once I saw this, I was like, all right, that's it. Because I probably could have kept on going, but at some point you just got to call it. And for this one, I just called it, and I was like, I'm happy with this. Creating a photo like this, I just wanted to make sure I was being respectful to these two legends. The photo was well received, which, there were so many positive remarks, which means a lot. But I think it had less to do with the photo itself and more to do with the idea of these two reuniting, because it's just beautiful, and it pulls on your heartstrings, and I know it pulled on mine, and it made me reflect on my relationship with my parents, and I'm grateful for that. I can remember my dad coming home with a Bruce Lee t-shirt, and he gifted it to me. And we eventually watched Enter the Dragon for the first time, and that being the gateway to the Bruce Lee movies. And, I wanted to dive in and read books about him that talked about, his philosophy and his martial arts. And then learning about Brandon and how he was an actor and, what happened to him. And me and Jules just watched The Crow the other night, and it's just sad because you just see this talent on screen, and you're just like, man, there could have been more, and doing a photo like this, it goes to show you the influence that they still have and the influence they will always have in the arts, in life, and I think that's beautiful, and it says a lot about the human condition. And we got to keep on striving, keep on creating, because it'll live on, and that's what legends do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna try my best to make more videos like this. You guys have a good rest of your day. Take it easy. Peace.